In today's episode of the Pathway Business Podcast, I got a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Anna Murphy, and she's hailing over as the Director of Marketing at LiveSchool. And we've had some interesting edtech communities and products on the show. So we're very much looking forward to deep dive into LiveSchool. Love the URL, whyliveschool.com. And today we got to, basically deep dive into the product and, learn about the thousands of schools that are definitely, leveraging positive student behavior through the platform. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Likewise. So maybe tell us a bit about LiveSchool. What is it all about? And, how would you summarize it for people that haven't heard about it?
Yeah, so LiveSchool is really built on this idea that positive school culture really drives the right student behavior. So I myself am a former educator. Our CEO actually created LiveSchool while he was working as a teacher in the KIPP system, which is a charter school system in the United States. And the majority of our team are all former educators. So anyone who's listening to this, who's a former educator, knows that behavior is a huge challenge when it comes to reaching your students and just keeping them engaged in learning. And so what LiveSchool does is it takes behavior and really turns it into an opportunity to drive positive student engagement and school culture. So what you do with the platform is teachers have an account, all students also have an account. Teachers are working in class and they can give points to their students for positive behavior. They can also take away points for negative behavior, which some of our schools opt to do, not all of them do. So we really are what we call a PBIS solution, though we work with other behavior management pedagogies as well. But PBIS is positive behavior intervention supports. The whole idea is that instead of focusing on the negatives with students, you really focus on the positives. So point out when they've done something well, which is, something I think we can all relate to even in our own work. You would much rather hear about something you've done well from your boss, for example, than just all of the negatives. So when you come with feedback, then that's harder to receive, you also feel really built up. So it's a tool with which students can get points for positive behavior. Those points then go to their own personal student bank account that they can then spend in the LiveSchool rewards store. Those points can also be added up in a house points competition too, which if you're familiar with house points, it's just like Harry Potter, 40 points for Gryffindor. The points that students receive individually go to their house total as well. So it's a points-based system for positive behavior. It drives a ton of celebration within schools. Our Twitter account is really fun, though as of recording this, I don't know how long Twitter will be around for, but remains to be seen. But we get a lot of schools showing these assemblies that they're having where they're announcing the students that have the most points that month. So it just creates this opportunity to celebrate students that don't always get recognized and to create celebration around something like positive behavior, which improves student morale and teacher morale, which in the US is a huge challenge right now.
Yep, no, makes a whole lot of sense. Fully understand. So now, the schools that are picking up the solution, like who within the school is, has that foresight to say, we need a system like that? Is that it's like the dean? Is that like individual teachers bringing it to the table? How does that work?
All of the above. Generally, though, it's led by someone at the administration level. So a dean of students is a great example. Principals and assistant principals as well play a huge role in that. Sometimes if there's a behavior or intervention coordinator, but oftentimes these types of behavior decisions are made by committees at schools. So they have behavior committees that a lot of teachers are on as well. So oftentimes we have teachers coming to us that are researching a school-wide solution for behavior. So which makes targeting a little bit challenging because at every school, it's different who owns this, right? So, and oftentimes it's basically by volunteer or being voluntold to own it. So it does make targeting a little bit difficult, which is why we really focus on messaging. And then that helps the right people find us when they're, Google, social media, whatever those channels are.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Makes sense. Now, how do these folks then learn about LiveSchool? Like, is that something, that just spreads from school to school? Is there a lot of inbound marketing happening? We talked briefly about before the show that definitely inbound is key, but maybe tell us a little bit about the journey. Like, what are the channels that you guys leverage for growth?
Yeah. So up until or I guess this past February or January when I joined, it was almost exclusively driven by referrals. So our customers would tell other people about it that would then become our customers. Behavior is a huge challenge in school. So a lot of educators do talk about that. So our LiveSchool comes up as a solution to those conversations. But when I joined, the goal was really to accelerate growth through marketing. We have a sales team, but the sales team is really an inbound sales team. They field demo requests and that come through referrals or the market channels, which I'll discuss. So when I came in January/February, it was late January, early February, my goal was to stand up a demand generation program. So the main channels with which people hear about us now include referrals, which are still a huge source of revenue for us. We were just running an analysis today, and they obviously have a great close rate, but SEO is now a major player for us. So we worked really intentionally to outrank our competitors for high value search terms with a purchase intent, and we do that through a full funnel SEO strategy. We in addition to that, run now email campaigns that does really serve that outbound motion. We do Facebook ads as well, but those aren't just focused on get a demo. It's focused on sharing content. Same with the email campaigns. One of our best performing email campaigns was actually, we sent out a list of 120 reward ideas we put together for students, and we got a ton of demo requests from that and some great revenue. So really interesting that content was driving that too. So let's see, we have Facebook ads, email campaigns, Google ads during the summer proves to be quite successful for us. But then we're also really launching this large scale brand strategy through social media. So we've invested really heavily in TikTok and Instagram to grow on those platforms, Twitter as well. And then a podcast too, which we have called The Flywheel Effect, which interviews school culture leaders. So a lot of principals, superintendents, and then researchers in the area too. And those are now driving a huge part of our inbound motion. And one of the interesting things is we've still, through all of this work, increased word of mouth, but the word of mouth is no longer coming from even just customers. It's coming from people that have just heard about us through our content and are referring other educators who are like, wow, my school's really struggling with behavior this year. Oh, I've heard about this solution through LiveSchool. I follow them on Instagram. We're seeing that type of motion happen a lot more now too, which is really interesting that it's still growing word of mouth, but it's not just relying on our customers at the same time.
Okay, super interesting. Now, when you think now about the website, because a lot of what you're describing obviously brings traffic to the website, how do you think about the page, like in terms of, the buyer's journey? Like, what role do you attribute to it?
Yeah, so the website really, I look at the website as like the living room of the company, right? And so it's when they come in, it's what do they see? And so when you land on our website, we redid it earlier this year, and we're looking to do a bigger redo of it in terms of design going into next year and all of that. But really the idea was to create a really sound customer journey. So when someone lands on the homepage, we have a really simple menu. There's how it works, which links to a lot of our product specific resources. And then we have a resources drop down, which has podcasts, professional development events, what else? In-depth resources pages that we've put together. There's a ton of, there's like these databases for reward ideas and house names ideas that are proven to be quite popular as well. They're all under that resources menu too. So we wanted a really simple user journey that when someone comes, our website is not just about getting someone to convert on a product page, but getting them to engage with our content. So it makes it really easy for them to navigate to both of those areas. To self-identify where they are in the funnel, right, and get the resources that matter to them. But we spent a ton of time really thinking about that how it works section of the menu and we did customer interviews, we did testing on the website to figure out how people would really navigate. Because when people come to the website, some of them are looking for school culture solutions. Some of them are looking for PBIS solutions. Some of them are looking for SEL solutions. Some of them just want a way to track house points. So we spent a ton of time really interviewing our customers to figure out the different ways that we can frame the solutions to our product without overcomplicating it. So we have a section where we talk about solutions in that how it works menu. It's a larger drop-down menu where they can really navigate to the very specific types of solutions we're providing for schools. So think social emotional learning or PBIS. But then there's also features as well. So there's a reward store, house points, which are also sometimes what people come to us for. So that was a really complicated but fruitful experience in terms of building out that website. And the user, increased conversion rates. We have a really strong user flow. We've actually reduced the bounce rate by 30%, I think, through this. So going into next year, we really want to work on improving, the design and kind of the UX feel on the website, and, we're always iterating on the copy because education is changing day by day, but we're really confident in the user journey we've built on the website to get people to the right places.
I mean, it's very interesting. It can be even as small as you were describing your menu, right? Like, I mean, problem we solve. It's like super clear what you guys are doing. Like, it stands out as clear because many other pages don't have it, right? They would be a little bit more vague or abstract. But you guys are super precise, and even in the menu, super cool.
Well, I appreciate that. That's really the challenge, is that when we were interviewing our customers, we're a lot of things to a lot of different people. And so how do you tell that story? And that's where we really started to lean into, like, how do we allow people to tell that story for themselves when they land on the website? And that's what we thought a lot about when we built that.
Makes sense. Very cool. Now, what have you learned? I mean, you were speaking a bit about the conversions and driving, obviously, also the results. Is there something that you've learned over the years as a marketer that, many maybe methods, approaches, tools that help in order to drive conversions on the website? Anything that was helpful in your career so far?
That is such a good question. So as I mentioned, I myself am a former educator. I was a program manager at the Boys and Girls Club, managing summer school and after school programs. I work with a ton of former educators. The people I hire are former educators. And I would say my whole experience in marketing has been in education technology. But one of the things that I think has helped with the conversion rates and the campaigns that, my teams have built is something I tell my team a lot, is that I get, dozens of emails from teachers every week, just, responding to email campaigns. It's been this way for 7 years since I've been in marketing, right? You get bounce backs, people emailing you with questions, and the majority of them have pink Comic Sans writing in their signature, which is a very US teacher thing to do, right? I'm sure I did that too. And so I always tell my team, our audience uses pink Comic Sans writing, like, write for them and design for them. And we aren't using Comic Sans on the website. It's not that. But the idea is how do we think like our audience, right? And put ourselves in their shoes. And it's a lot easier to do when you've been in their shoes, but we never assume that we understand them better than, they understand themselves. So I think there's a humility that comes with that. But really, it's when we create these websites, when I create websites at different companies, I speak the language of the audience, right? Like, I take the time to understand how they refer to their own problems. And that's, how that menu I just talked about came about, which we've seen huge improvements from, right? It's what's made our TikTok really successful this year, right? Like, we looked at what teachers and principals were putting out on TikTok, right? We studied that, and then we found our own voice within that ecosystem. But we don't try to come in and change how people think. We try to come in and be like them and build relationships with them over time. And I guess that would probably be the number one thing I've learned. And it's what I think the successful companies I've been at do really well. Whereas the companies that are often run by people who don't have experience in education and they're trying to run ed tech, they design in a way that doesn't fit what the teachers want, right? Or what, their buyers want. They write in a way that doesn't speak their language. So it just comes off as inauthentic. So authenticity and humility, I think, are really important in marketing.
Very cool. It's just so interesting when you were saying Comic Sans MS, where just a font can describe an entire persona and an entire way of working. It's super interesting.
It really does. I mean, I remember when I was putting together lesson plans, I would plan in Comic Sans, right? Like, that was what you did when you worked in education. And I do not like Comic Sans now as like when I understand that type of stuff, but our audience does. And that tells me something about them at the end of the day.
Very cool. Now, as we're slowly getting to an end of the interview, it was super interesting. We could, I think, go on for a long time, but I would love to, learn a little bit about yourself as a marketer. The first thing I would like to ask you is, with all the content out there, with so many things that you can study and learn, like either in the edtech space or just purely in the marketing space, like where do you personally find like high quality information for yourself to learn?
Interestingly enough, I find high quality information from people that are not in ed tech. I think ed tech is in desperate need of innovation. I mean, you and I were talking a little bit before this call about how a lot of ed tech companies have this really heavy outbound motion. And I'm not saying that's bad, but a lot of it's rooted in this assumption that that's the only way to sell to schools and districts. And that is simply not the case. So I spend a lot of time following people on LinkedIn and interacting with them. I think LinkedIn is a really rich source of content, and I follow people mostly not in education, technology. A lot of them are, in the marketing, sales, product spaces. I mean, and so in podcasts like this as well, I like hearing from leaders in marketing who are, I can relate to even though my audience is different, the way my audience buys is different, I can understand the problems that they're solving and relate it back to me. So what I really do is look for innovation in people that are pushing the narrative on what marketing can do. But the number one thing I look for in the resources I seek out is that they see marketing as a revenue engine, right? That at the end of the day, marketing's job is to drive revenue. It's not just to support sales. It's not just to be the arts and crafts department of the company and build swag and set up conference booths, that they see marketing having a seat at the table in terms of revenue strategy. And that's what I look out for people. Podcasts and LinkedIn are really where I'm finding those right now.
Very cool. For the very last question, I'd like to ask you for a little bit of time travel. Let's go back to the days of Portland State, if you allow, right?
Sure.
So you're heading out of formal education, at least for the moment, and getting into the world of education, business, marketing. What's the one advice that you would give yourself for your journey?
Well, what's interesting is I actually graduated with a degree in Arabic. So I speak Arabic, and I was planning on going into US intelligence, decided that wasn't the path for me, wanted to do something more meaningful, and got a job in education, right? So I wasn't even thinking about marketing. I got into marketing through an internship at an ed tech company that paid me a little bit more than what I was making in education. So I took it with no actual interest in marketing at that point. But so what I would tell myself is just a willingness to be flexible and to not care about that 1, 3, or 5 year plan at that point, because it would all be different. And the journey's what's been really fun, getting to where I'm at, where I never thought I would be, right?
Very cool. I would say, I think we're at the end of the interview today. It was a pleasure to learn with you more about LiveSchool. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about LiveSchool today, what's the one thing people should remember?
Oh gosh, that's so tough. I mean, I would just say that it's important to walk the walk and talk the talk of your audience at the end of the day. That's why I was working as a contractor. It's why I ended up taking a job full-time at LiveSchool. It was built by a passionate team of former educators who had used the product, used similar products, and knew the value it provided. And it's what makes coming to work every day so much fun, and makes me passionate about the marketing that we do, even when it's data entry and spreadsheets and trying to understand a deal source and remap things in HubSpot. It feels like it has meaning because it's built by a team of people who are really passionate about what they do.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathfinder Presents.
Thank you so much.